Emotions have many facets. They involve feelings and experiences, they involve physiology and behavior, and they involve cognitions and conceptualizations. We know they exist, and we've learned how to distinguish them just by looking at the angle of the lips or the movement of the eyebrows. But what exactly distinguishes one emotion from another? What affects our perception of anger, sadness, fear, happiness, excitement? And, even more interestingly, how do these emotions change our view of the quote-unquote real world around us? Darwin, in his Writings of Expression, stated that emotions are innate, that the signs of our emotions are the product of our evolution and are therefore part of our biology. He was also one of the first to take note of the similarities in emotions across species. He did, however, rely on an idea common in his day but now known to be false, that characteristics acquired in a person's lifetime can be inherited. His writings use this theory as a foundation for the origin of many expressions. Another criticism of Darwin's work is that he did not explain the origin of emotional expressions in terms of their communicative value. Obviously, you can tell that this guy is mad and that this guy is sad. But even more remarkably, you can tell the difference between the implications and the actions that you should perform in response to them. The person's face communicated a situation, and Darwin couldn't figure that into his argument? He could have easily described how expressions develop and are preserved because, over the course of evolution, one member of a species was able to figure out information about another from the faces they made. But he didn't. Womps. Even more incredibly, the ability to recognize expressions and emotions is a skill that all humans have, even as young children. A study done by Natalie Carrick and Jody Koss examined 3 to 5-year-olds' ability to discriminate emotional fantasies and realities. The kids viewed images depicting fantastic or real events that elicited several emotions, reported whether each event could occur, and rated their emotional reaction to the image. Surprisingly, the children's emotional reactions to the images were significantly related to their fantasy-reality distinctions. It would seem that the kids reported that happy, fantastic, or real events could occur significantly more often than frightening and angry fantastic or real events. It's quite amazing that even at age 3, we were able to distinguish what was fantasy and what was reality based on our own emotions, isn't it? Now, this experiment was done with children undergoing normal development, but even children with autism have a similar ability when understanding emotions from standardized facial expressions. Fulvio Castelli investigated the recognition of standardized facial expressions, like anger, fear, and sadness, at a perceptual level in children with autism and normal developing children. Her results revealed that those with autism were as able as controls to recognize all 6 emotions with different intensity levels. So, perhaps the ability to discern emotions and the ability to extrapolate anteceding actions is an innate skill. But is there something that can manipulate this innate ability and change our perception of specific emotions? According to Bacha Mesquita, there is one variable that should be accounted for: the cultural differences amongst individuals. The study included participants from individualistic and collectivist cultures. Specifically, 86 Dutch individualistic respondents and 171 Surinamese and Turkish collectivist respondents completed the questionnaire used, and what would be an absolute reality, as in what should be absolute emotions and expressions, was shown to not necessarily be the case. Comparatively, emotions in collectivist cultures, 1. Were more grounded in worries of social worth and of shifts in that social worth. 2. Were to a large extent taken to reflect reality rather than the inner world of the individual. And 3. Belonged to the self-other relationship rather than being confined to the subjectivity of the self. If this one variable could change how emotions are felt and how the perception of others' emotions, what else can change the seemingly innate universality of the emotional world? Just as importantly, these emotions, no matter where they're felt, cause dramatic disruptions in judgment and performance. But how and why? In their study, Jennifer Lerner and Dieter Keltner addressed these questions in a way. They asked how specific emotions influence different judgments, and what social factors moderate the influences of different emotions upon judgment. Their first conclusion proposed that emotions activate processes that guide subsequent perception and judgment. Specifically, fearful people made pessimistic judgments of future events, and angry people actually made optimistic judgments. One suggested reason for this finding could be the role that emotions play in the triggering of responses to a stimulus, such as physiological and behavioral, that enable the individual to deal quickly with encountered problems or opportunities. These specific emotions interrupt ongoing cognitive processes and direct attention, memory, judgment to address the emotion eliciting event. Even more interestingly, an emotion's ability to focus cognition may be so strong that the emotion not only directs thoughts relevant to the initial event, but also to unrelated events. For example, anger triggered in one situation automatically elicits blame cognitions in other situations. So it's as if Jack got mad at Hal and then took it out on Rose. Sounds like every romantic comedy, right? Well, if that's the case, then the reality of the unrelated situation is skewed based on your already established feelings. Emotions are innate. They are part of what it means to be human, and they fuel every interaction we experience. But they are conditioned and felt differently in various parts of the world, leading to multiple emotional realities. And these emotions affect our attitudes and our reactions to events, distorting the quote-unquote absolute reality and introducing our own emotional perception on any given situation.